Hi friends, my name is Priscilla and today I want to talk to you about my experience homeschooling while we were in the process of moving. About 6 months ago, our family moved from one part of the state to another. I was very nervous about what homeschool would look like during such a big transition for our family. And I hope that the things that I can share here will help you as you go through the process yourself. So, because we knew we were going to be moving, I started the school year a few weeks earlier than I normally do. So, we started school in August. By the time we had sold our house and bought our new home, we were already in October. So, it had been a few weeks since we had started school. A couple of things that really helped me through this process was to really think about what my expectations were. I had to really think about how different things were going to have to look and just how flexible I was going to have to be in order to not be overwhelmed and too stressed about school and moving and all the different changes our family was going to be experiencing. So I would say that that is my number one tip for you, and that is to really think through what are your expectations and to be very realistic about what it is that your family can actually accomplish. And once you have a general idea of what is realistic for your family, then you can really come up with a plan. So for us, what that looked like was one, like I said, starting a few weeks earlier so that we had gotten into the groove of things, into accustomed to our subjects, to the material we were going to be using, the books we were going to be using for that school year. The other thing that I did was to really try to keep our curriculum, or I should say, our subjects as simple as possible while still making sure that the homeschool experience was enriching for my son. So, this was our second year of formal education. We have been using the Charlotte Mason method. And if you're familiar with the Charlotte Mason method at all, you understand that there are a lot of different subjects that you're covering and that it's really focused on short lessons, but a great variety of subjects. And so, because of the change that we were going to be experiencing, I knew that it would not be realistic for my family to be implementing every single one of the subjects. Our first year homeschooling last year, we did it. We were able to do it. There was just one thing that was a part of our curriculum that we did not do, and that was composer study. But everything else we pretty much did to some degree. Whereas this year, because I knew it was going to be a year of significant change for our family, I was already aware that I could not have that expectation because it would just be too much for us. So what I did was I really thought about what are some of the subjects that we were just going to have to drop this school year, and what were the things that was just realistic for us to keep on our plate. So the subjects that we maintained were math and reading. We continued copywork. We also continued history and geography, as well as science and nature study and literature. Everything else we paused for the time being. One of the things that I did that was very helpful was um, I determined that we would take 2 weeks off during the process of moving. So between packing our old house and moving to our new house and settling into our new space, I gave us 2 weeks to accomplish that without having to think about school at all. And so it was not even a consideration for us. We weren't doing anything. I mean, when I say we were off, we were completely off. We were absolutely focused on the task at hand, which was to get out of our old house and move into our new one and just get settled in. And that was such a great decision because I think that if I had tried to continue to do any of the subjects really, it was just going to be too much and it was just going to be too overwhelming. And so I'm glad that we made that decision to take some time off. And so maybe for your family, 2 weeks is fine. Perhaps you need more than 2 weeks. And again, I think that's perfectly fine. Homeschooling does give us the flexibility to do that because we can school well into the summer months if we have to in order to make up for the time you take in order to move your family. But I think the most important thing to do in a season of such significant change for our kids is to be present with them and just to take care of business that needs to be taken care of. And so that's the decision that I made, to take 2 weeks off. Another decision that I made was to decrease, once again, the number of subjects that we covered 2 weeks leading up to those 2 weeks we were going to be off. So basically, 2 weeks before our big move, we were really focused on packing and just getting rid of stuff and dealing with attorneys and um, surveys and inspections and this and that. And so I knew that my time, my energy, my focus was going to be diminished, greatly diminished, because of these other responsibilities. And I didn't want to take more than those 2 full weeks off. So what I did was, for 2 additional weeks before, we continued with math and copy work and reading as well as literature. So we did that for 2 weeks. Then we took 2 weeks off. And then once we were settled into our new home, we kind of onboarded again with just those core subjects. So math and reading and copy work and literature. Those were the subjects that we did for those 2 weeks after we moved. So 2 weeks before we moved, we did just the core subjects. We took 2 weeks off. And then for 2 weeks after our move, we only did our core subjects. And then after those 2 weeks were up, we incorporated everything else that we had been doing before. Again, we decided not to incorporate every single subject at all this year, because with being in a new home and in a new community, we're in the process of looking for a new church. We really decided to focus our efforts in building community and meeting new friends, new homeschooling families, and participating in different activities that are available within our community, in order to have our kids make new friends and just get acclimated to this huge change that they have just experienced. And we were able to keep our school days short and really focus on these other things that were just as important in this particular season of our family's life. So my encouragement to you, if you are looking to move or you are in the process of moving, is to really give yourself the space and the mental space that you need in order to focus on the very unique responsibilities that you have as someone who's going to be undergoing as a family that's going to be undergoing such a huge change. So don't try to do it all. If you try to do it all, you're only going to burn out, you're going to be frustrated, and you're going to create situations where the memory and the process of moving is just going to be maybe even traumatic. My encouragement to you is to really think about where your family is at, what your needs are, and also what your capacity is as the mother teacher, and to be very, very realistic with what it is that you can actually accomplish. I would say, if you're going to err on the side of caution, prep and plan for less. And as you have pockets of time, be prepared to, pick up a book that maybe you weren't planning to read, and you just read during those time slots that you have, or do some extra math, or take out some additional picture books from the library. There's so much that we can do spontaneously as our days allow, that do not have to absolutely be a part of our timetable, that do not absolutely have to be a part of our schedule. Because the thing with adding to our schedule more than we can actually realistically accomplish is that every time you look at that schedule, you are going to be tempted to beat yourself up for not accomplishing the things that you set out to accomplish. However, if your schedule is very, very realistic, and you find that you do have pockets here and there where you could add things, then maybe perhaps have a list of things that you would like to accomplish if you have the time to do it. And take advantage of that list and do those things as time allows. The other big thing that I wanted to say is to be very strategic about how you pack your homeschool material, and make sure that as you're packing, you label everything. You label everything very specifically so that, again, depending on your situation, some things may stay in boxes for a while. So the last thing you want is to have material that you actually need once you're in your new home and not know where that material is. So I would make sure that you pack all your homeschooling things in a way that is just easy to find, that you specify what are the things that you need on hand as soon as you move. And I would even say, and this is what we did, we whatever we needed for that school year in terms of books and notebooks and supplies, I put in bins, and I did not have those bins go out with the rest of our boxes. I did not have those bins out in the moving truck with everything else that we owned. Instead, I kept those bins with us. I kept those bins inside of our van because, God forbid, something happened, whatever that might have looked like. I wanted to make sure that the things that I needed on hand to homeschool were available to our family should something go wrong and something go missing or whatever. So that's another thing that I would encourage you to think about, really the packing and how you pack for your homeschool content. Um, that's it. That's all I have for today. I hope that, if you listened through the entire video, I hope that some of this information about my own experience was helpful to you. And I look forward to seeing you again in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.